Hey guys, episode 33 of the stock portfolio series. Still can't mention the Trading212 link because they're not signing up new members, but you can join the waiting list. So nice little gain this week, about 2,000 or 3,000 overall in the portfolio, and deposited about £6,500 from cryptocurrency sales. So about £500 up on these two gold funds. Been a little bit up and down this week. Still sort of overall fairly slow move in gold and silver. Silver still seems to be performing a little better, but not sort of too much either way. So maybe sort of another month of this before anything noticeable happens, but stay patient. Looking at the ISA Trading212 portfolio, seen a bit of a gain this week. Obviously I haven't deposited anything because it's maxed out, but yeah, it was at about 30,200, so about £2,000 gain this week. Some of that has come from the Bitcoin positions, and some of it from Sylvania Platinum. So the Argo blockchain is up about 45% with the sort of Tesla news and various other things this week. So that's done quite well. And the other part was the Bitcoin ETP. So that's up about 25% in the last week. So that's sort of provided the a fair bit of the gain. A lot of the other positions are sort of fairly flat. The ArcPi overall is kind of flat for the week. Some of them up, some of them down. The REITs haven't sort of done a huge amount in the last week. I think like BT is still sort of fairly flat. Sentiment had a little bit of a drop, sort of considering maybe averaging this one down a little, sort of down 2% overall, but not sure really. I mean, obviously I'm quite exposed to gold, so maybe leave that where it is. The First Majestic Silver though, doing quite well even with a sort of choppy silver market, so up 5% in the last week. Pretty good. Quite happy with that. Most of the other sort of positions are fairly flat, just sort of fairly small moves. Polymetal not done all that well. As you can see, it's just slightly above my overall buy price now. Obviously I didn't buy there, I bought a long while ago, but it's basically come down to my buy price. So 2% up on this, but again, stay patient. I think the gold move is probably going to be a lot slower than sort of things like Bitcoin and the growth stocks and that sort of thing. It'll be when we start getting some more noticeable inflation and money printing and that sort of thing, or a downturn in stocks potentially, but still happy to hold it. Not too much other moves. Shell sort of been very up and down over the last week, but sort of fairly flat overall. Not too much else. A little penny stock isn't doing much of anything. Sylvania Platinum though, 13, nearly 14% for the last week. So I mentioned that this was sort of down in the pretty much £1 range. Sort of see at the beginning there. Did sort of go basically down to £1. So yeah, pretty happy with this move up. Still thinking probably £1.25. I'll maybe sell a quarter of the position, just lock in some profit. 65% up overall, so just sort of wanting to lock in a little bit and maybe buy into some more of my other positions, sort of particularly again the REITs, because I only want to buy them in the ISA, so want to bump those up. Yeah, that is sort of pretty much where we are on the Trading212 ISA. Volkswagen not really moved much at all this week, so that's sort of basically where the bulk of the change has come from in here. And over on the invest side, this is obviously where the 6,500 has gone from the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency sales. So put this into about 5 or 6 different stocks. Didn't add anything to 3M or Alibaba or ADM, although ADM's in a little 4 or 5% move this week, so pretty happy with that. Not putting anything too big into that at the moment. I bought into Aviva last week, just a small amount of shares, and we're part of the buy-in this week with the 6,000 quid. Bumped that up to £1,100, 330 shares of Aviva. Quite happy with them. Expect it to be a very slow grower, maybe even sort of 5% a year or something, 7% a year. That's all I'm looking for really, plus a dividend. Barrett's not really done too much. Couple of new positions. So Bristol Myers Squibb and Merck. See later on. Put about £1,000 into each of these. So they haven't been on the long-term sort of stock list that I've mentioned before. These are maybe sort of semi-temporary positions. Not sure I'll hold them forever, but seem like quite good value at the moment. Sort of a couple of tips from the Paul Briscoe forum. Yeah, seem quite good. I'm sort of obviously realised that I'm not investing at all in sort of some of my longer term ones like Boeing and Rolls-Royce, McDonald's, Coke and Pepsi, just because all of them seem a little bit overvalued at the moment. So sort of to diversify and not just keep adding to my positions, bought into Bristol Myers and Merck for a bit of healthcare exposure, because I've only really got Johnson & Johnson and the ArcPi. So that was the reason for those two. Broadcom done quite well this week for 4.3%. So they're doing well. Again, would have liked this to be a larger position because they've done sort of really well since I bought in. But there you go. It's fairly large as it is. Bought some more BT in here. Sort of come down to a bit of a low. So sort of bought that small drop. Again, it's small moves really. Obviously, you look at the last month, it's been pretty bad. But, well, it's bad sort of in the long term, really. Obviously, yeah, I was buying, round about here in the last year. But, yeah, it's £4, sort of £4.50 odd back at the highs. But I still think it can do well. Sort of somewhat of a monopoly over the UK telecoms market. Yeah, haven't bought into Caterpillar or Diageo, still seem a little bit expensive. eBay, not really done too much this week, or FedEx, just small moves upwards. Again, quite happy with that. Intel, I bought a little bit more into, about £250. That's also done pretty well, 6% in the last week. So got their new CEO trying to turn around the company a little bit. Increased my position in international paper. So yeah, brought that up to 1,064, and that's gone up 4.6% this week. So pretty happy with that. Fairly sort of boring stock. It's a packaging materials supplier, so it doesn't get much more boring than that. So very happy with that. The ETFs have largely done pretty well in the last week. 2% in a week on an ETF, perfectly fine. So these are going to be the slow growers. Japan, another 2%, quite good. The clean energy is dropping down a little bit. It's not a particularly big position, so be quite happy to have this drop down a fair bit more, and that'll be one I'll sort of pile into if it does drop. Obviously I want it to be more than £600, so kind of hoping that goes down a little. Water one's flat, and Europe is basically flat. Not bought into Johnson & Johnson or Kears. Kears still a bit of a very, very slow mover over the last sort of few months, but still expecting them to turn things around as they start improving the balance sheet. Bought a little bit more Kroger, just sort of 250 quid as part of the buys this week, and they're up 2%, so that's fine. Legal and General and Lennar and them sort of stayed fairly flat. Lockheed Martin is almost completely flat, but that's fine. I'm not increasing that at the moment. Merck, as they say, was one of the buys this week. So seems to be a bit undervalued. So it may just be a temporary position, as I say. When I say temporary, I mean sort of maybe, 3 to 6 months. Hopefully, and then I can sort of maybe sell out of that and into one of my, as I say, sort of Coke, Pepsi, or Boeing, Airbus, that sort of thing, just if they come back to sort of reasonable value. Micron, 8% in the last week, so it's pretty good. Again, this sort of seemed fairly undervalued. I did have Western Digital. I think they have actually done a little bit better, but Micron seemed to have a bit of a better balance sheet, so just happier in them for, again, this may be a somewhat of a short-term move until I can get into my other long-term stocks at a better value. Nintendo bought a little bit more into this week, about £600-700 I think bought this week, and that's up 5%, so pretty happy with that. Seem to be doing pretty well. Porsche not really moved. Raytheon not really moved. Bought Rio Tinto, about £1,000 of Rio Tinto. Kind of sort of reading a lot about commodities sort of being fairly bullish for the future. Just really off the back of inflation from all of this money printing. So a lot of the general materials are going to go up. Steel is already sort of being very volatile, so that's increasing sort of by the week pretty much. So Rio Tinto should do well, and that's up 5% in the last week. So fairly happy with that. I sort of made these buys Monday or Tuesday, so I did get some of this gain. So that's pretty good. Shell I've mentioned. Siemens fairly flat, although I did get a £20 dividend from them. That's the only dividend I've had recently, although these should start to roll in. A lot of the US ones go ex-dividend sort of around this week, next week. The other final ETF that I've got, the small cap value one, pretty good. US doing all right, 2%. Still think it's maybe people selling off a little bit of growth stocks and going a bit more value. Tsmc, again, 8% in the last week. It's only a very small position, but saying that, it's I think it's top. I think it's the largest position in the iShares emerging markets. So I have actually got more than it's sort of showing there. So if I've got 5,000 of the emerging markets ETF, then obviously I've got a load more TSMC in there. So not too bad. Taylor Wimpey's basically flat. Tyson Foods had a little bit of a drop. People didn't like their earnings report. I think it was revenue down and earnings per share up, so I didn't see that as too bad, but they've had a bit of a drop. And Unilever not doing particularly well. This was just the free share, but obviously something I would like to sort of build up as a position, but still doesn't seem all that great value. So I'll carry on waiting, just leave this free share and see if it comes down a little bit more, or things start to improve for them, sales and revenue growth. So yeah, that is the portfolio for the week. I have made some more cryptocurrency sales just this morning. So there's another 6,500 will be going into this in the next week as well. So really sort of building up these positions and this account. So still sort of making a decision on what to buy in the next week. But yeah, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and leave a like, as always appreciated. And yeah, so subscribe if you want to see more. See you soon.